doing that. So what he's trying to do, and he actually, I think this is some sort of delusional plan of Alan's, because he thinks that Cohen solicitors will probably watch this. They probably won't. But I think Alan is trying to put out there to them that, you know, you better not play with fire, because if you take me to court, all this other stuff will backfire in your face and you'll look stupid. Like, don't kick the hornet's nest. I've got all this, you know, information about all these people, and I'll, you know, throw one back at you. It's like an intimidation, and the idea might be that Cohen might quietly behind the scenes turn to Frankie Ruszec and say, I'm sorry, I don't want to go ahead with this anymore. I've watched what Alan said, and I think maybe you and your friends aren't very nice. So, you know, I'm going to decide to just graciously say thank you very much, but no thank you. You can take your case up with a different lawyer. And I think that's Alan's angle of attack here, is because to all intents and purposes, Cohen has no knowledge of anything that's going on here, does he? He's just employed as a lawyer, so that Frankie Jr., yes, I'll do what you say, thank you very much, thanks for the monies. And Alan's trying to say, here's the other side of it that you don't know, and that's why you might not want to take the case. But he doesn't understand it. Like, you know, that's a stupid, like in the same way as he tried to intimidate me, it was a stupid way to go about things, but it's one of his strategies as a narcissist. Like, imagine a different situation where something was hanging over him, like, I don't know, you work with Alan and you walk into the office and he's having an illicit affair with one of the ladies at the office, and he's snogging the cleaning lady. Alan's in the mop room snogging the cleaning lady. You're like, whoa, I thought you were married. Shit. And then he comes to you and he says, listen, you might want to tell, if you're thinking about telling my wife, then just you know that I know about what you were doing on your computer. And you're like, what do you mean on my computer? I'm not doing anything. And he's like, I've got something on you, so you don't. Like, it's the same sort of thing, isn't it? Like, he's in the shit here. There's something hanging over him. And so he's going to the people and saying, like, oh, look, here's a reason you might not want to do this. You might want to hold off on that court case because Frankie, like, I think it's fucking stupid, of course. But, no, living in a different country doesn't prevent legal action. Johnny Depp came here and sued the newspapers, didn't he? Do you remember that? Johnny Depp sued the Sun. So you totally can do what they're doing. I think the publication thing, like Alan's in Great Britain, so they come here to sue Alan, essentially. And instead of physically coming here, they've set up a fund and someone to act on their behalf to deal with the solicitor. And I think this Claire Morgan thing, I just think there's this woman, Claire Morgan, and she agreed that she would be like this middle person so that they could set up the fund. She would make sure it goes to the solicitors. I think that's all that Claire Morgan is. I don't know anything about her being a lawyer and this and that, but Cohen Davis are lawyers, and if they are, as we've seen the evidence for, because there's a legal listing for it. Like, there's like a listing, you know, legal one. They are going forward with this case, and then what will have to happen is that they petition the court to say we want to go forward with this case, and then the court has to arrange a date and a time. Like, you know, it won't just be like overnight you get to turn up at court, will it? You know, there'll be some months and there'll be some process, and in that time you have the opportunity to negotiate and for it to not end up in court. And what tends to happen, like 90% of these cases are settled out of court. Alan thinks they don't go to trial 90%, but what he means is 90% are probably settled out of court because people can come to an amicable agreement over certain things in the main, especially if they know they're fucking wrong. So along the way, the lawyers probably talk to you. Like, if Alan had a solicitor, this is a really funny one, right? Alan did have a solicitor at one point, and they advised him to not do this. From everything I've seen of his, he said, I've had a solicitor and I've got, you know, and showed some stuff. They've told me this, and he twisted it to make it look like it was bad for the other people. But my opinion of it was that they said, you, Alan, cannot take these people to court because you've been harassing them. And he twisted it round to say, you can't take me to court because you've been harassing me. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like I think Alan had the legal advice, and the legal advice was, Alan, you're in the wrong. Don't pursue this. Settle out of court if you can, because otherwise you're going to be in lots of trouble. And Alan said, no, I don't want you to represent me, thank you very much. Leave me alone. Right? And then he twisted it round to say, right, you know, I can't sue you because I've harassed you, therefore you can't sue me because you're harassing me. How about that? I think that's what's happened. So I think, basically, from what I understand, Frankie Ruszec Jr. has not seen this money. This money has gone straight to the lawyers. That's from what I understand. Like, if it turns out that Frankie Ruszec Jr. has made a fake lawyer fund so he can steal the money and just go off on a jolly, then how have Cohen Davis filed a legal dispute with the court? Like, how would that happen? So my great hope is it just turns up, that it happens one day. I don't know what day it happens, but my Ruszec versus Vinnicombe, look. This is Caseboard case search. I don't really know what this is, but it comes up, look. Open government license, Caseboard, cases. Like, this looks like a legit website with all the cases on it, yeah? Court list. Don't know what Caseboard is, to be honest, but let me check that. Is Caseboard legit? Caseboard, a new information resource for High Court proceedings. So yeah, I'm going to say it's legit, isn't it? Look. It's a legit website, okay? So, parties and representatives, Ruszec Frankie, Cohen Davis. Defendant, Vinnicombe Alan, litigant in person, means himself. The case has got a case number, KB 2022 004547. It's interesting that the case number's in, you can't see that because it's just over just here, but the case number is clearly the date, 2022, because King's Bench, 2022, it's important because there's a statute of limitations on defamation. This is media and communication, Part 7 claim, defamation, libel and slander. The inferred case status is active, green, it says just behind me. And then the timeline is they filed on the 16th of November, 2022. So, waiting for a hearing then, yeah? But the case has been filed. Like, that means an actual lawyer has filed. Like, this website's not just making it up, isn't it? Dover and Dolly's mom says they had to get a court clearance to be able to serve him by email in March. I mean, ultimately, the question of whether, like, the money's not been stolen and used and fake, and like, the money's gone to the solicitor, hasn't it? And the solicitor has filed the claim, and now they're awaiting the hearing. And if you're a solicitor and you're going to do your job, you can't say to somebody, I'll take some money off you now to file the claim, but I want a bit more money later to go to the hearing. You pay your solicitor and you say, how much will this cost if it goes to court? And they tell you, and they give you like a breakdown, and they say, you know, and then you say, okay, I'm prepared to go ahead with this. And they say, okay, this is how much it's going to cost. And, like, you know, it might bill you in integers as it goes forward, but, you know, we expect you to have the money if I expect it to turn up in court. Yeah? I think that's the way it goes. I might be wrong. I mean, I've not done this myself, but my parents have, I suppose, at some point. Not libel and slander, but divorces and lawyers and things. It might, I don't know what goes on in America as well, but it might be different in America. But so I've used a lawyer before for my business with the Sale and Supply of Goods Act. The money laundering's an interesting one, isn't it? Because I wonder what Nancy, if she exists or not, Because all the money he gets, he just puts it straight in the poker, doesn't he? He's not got any big, Alan's not got any big, you imagine as well, you add it up, Nancy and all this, it's not a lot of money. He's not getting hundreds of thousands of pounds here. It's just enough money to go to the pub, play some poker. He doesn't have to pay rent. He's got a mortgage, and it's probably not even in his name. You think 100 Nancy's real? She might be. If she stops giving him money, he's done. The patrons, there's probably a bunch of patrons who have forgot that they're patrons, and that, he's probably got a bit of money on that, but I would ask you to tell me how you know, but I'll just take it as your opinion if you want. If you can prove how you know, then I'd be interested, but it's hard to prove, isn't it? I can imagine she would, most of the online lolcows that have got people who pay them have a small number of whales that give them a fucking load of money. So she could quite well be real, and he could quite well have been manipulating behind the scenes, but just trust you she's real is a bit difficult because, I can't take your opinion to be my opinion, not having seen the things you've seen, Mortgage in Nancy's name. I think it might be that his family, it might be that he lives in a property that his son owns that, Alan effectively pays the mortgage for, but his son owns it. Or it could literally be that he's got a place that it's paid off, or, doesn't have to pay the mortgage on, moved in somewhere smaller, spent some of the money, did things like that. I don't know. How did the memberships go? I can't tell you. It doesn't let me know. We've got a load of memberships, but I can't add it up, and it's got a thing on the internet that tells you your stats, but it's delayed by a couple of it's not instant. So I'll check it now. You can see real time how many video views you are getting, but the actual stats on each video take about a day or two to come through properly. And my yesterday's uploads, Angry Alan yearns for the live stream, steaming at Nicole Kissinger, that got limited ad suitability. And the video got ad suitability, and the heart to heart has got copyright partially blocked. And it's because of that song that we played. Tramadol. It's because of that, partially blocked. No one in Russia can watch it. But it doesn't tell me the stats on things like revenue and stuff like that. There's a button here that says memberships manage. So I go to memberships. At the moment it says how many members I've got, 46. But it doesn't tell me how much money it is. So I don't know exactly how much that works out at, because there are different levels, aren't there, and stuff, but 46 members. There you go. And it shows me who's sending messages that are members. So there you go. I need to keep checking that now. What's up, Jamie? All right. No, don't worry about it. It just happens. There's a button on it that says, obviously copyright problems, and what you do is you press. Obviously, you wouldn't do this because it would just delete your whole video. But I press mute, and then it has to process, and then once it's processed, it will try and mute it out. And if it can't do that, then it's problems after that. But it's not really I'm not getting copyright strikes. It's just that it won't suggest the video as much to people in Russia. And I can't take any money from it. Obviously, it'll send it to whoever made the music that made the song that I'd mask off. But fuck Russia anyway, so. Was it a success to me? I mean, I just thought, people have asked me to put the memberships on. I was interested in doing it for the main channel, although I've taken my foot off the gas on the main channel, which is naughty of me. and I wanted to see what they looked like and how it worked. So I didn't think that anyone would actually. I thought we might get 3. I thought if we get 3 or 2 or 3, then at least I'll see what it looks like on the phone and how the thing and what you have to do. And do you know what I mean? I wanted to see what, in case I want to launch it, or because I probably want to launch it on the main channel. But yeah, so it was a success. Yeah, massively, I suppose. Basically 50 members. I should put a membership counter on, shouldn't I? But I think it's basically 50, isn't it? 40 something I said, I can't remember. But that's loads, isn't it, I suppose? I've got no real, it's like how big is a bowl of soup? I've got no context to know. I keep saying context this last week. I said context loads. I don't really know what's good and what's not, but I think it's good. And then there's 2 different ways to look at it, right? Financially, I get half of, YouTube doesn't do me as well as the tippies. So the tippy system, I get more of a cut. I think there's still 17% they take or something like that, but it's not as much as half. YouTube are going to take half of all the money that comes in for memberships and super chats. So I would prefer that people give me tippies. That's simple because of the amount of cut, right? Similar to over here, but on Twitch they take money from the thing as well. But on the other hand, people being members, it might not be the same money. Do you know what I mean? People might become members and also to choose to tip me. So that's good. It's more money then, isn't it? And then the other thing is that people enjoy memberships in a different way to they enjoy tippies. It's like saying you run a restaurant and you do burgers. Burgers make the most money. I do get the most profit on the burgers. So I'm not doing anything else. That'd be silly. You still do other meals and other things and other dishes. You'd want to have the burgers as your primary, main seller, so to speak. So I think diversifying my income stream is a good idea. So it's a different way for people to support the stream. It's a different way for me to receive money, so that's good. And then the other thing is that with the memberships, I can see it at the moment. Don't worry about it, Star Race. I've got your prime pennies, exactly. If you have to save up money to give me tippies, don't do that. Save it up and use it for yourself instead. But if you've got a little extra spare to give to some, if you were going to give a busker £2, consider throwing it at me instead. Fuck the buskers. But what's good about it is that I imagine, when I get to see the stats, I've only just turned it on, but at the end of a YouTube month, you kind of make content. And if it does well, you get a little bit more. If you're doing well, you're putting more out there, you get a little bit more. If you do a little bit less, you get a little bit less. Tippies are absolutely not guaranteed. I don't switch on the stream and think, right, here's £40 coming. It's absolutely not guaranteed. But with the memberships, assuming those people want to be members and assuming I give enough and do enough to, consistently have members, that's a consistent number. I know before the end of the month now that because those people have I don't get the YouTube money until the end of whatever the cycle is, but I see already that those people have decided to be members. That becomes sort of safe in a way, doesn't it? It's a bit more long-term thinking than, I hope I get tippies, and then there's also some sort of status approval, some chat, Alan does it, doesn't he? He goes on about how many members and how many supporters. Maybe I should have a members count on the screen because it shows that people are supporting the stream. It's like some sort of seal of approval from the audience, in some way. So maybe that's maybe that's quite cool as well. There's lots of different aspects to it. I mean, YouTube have got it on there. Lots of people enjoy it. They've asked me to do it, so I turned it on, was the basics. And now I'm sort of thinking about it and looking at it and seeing what it's like, I suppose. And it's only just been on recently, and I'm not even streaming on there now. But here we've got subscriptions. I'm very grateful to Redfan for dishing out the subscriptions because I feel there's another aspect to it here as well, which is that once you've got a subscription, you feel like coming back and being part of the, you've got your star and you're like, then YouTube are stealing this system from here, really, the subscriber system for the memberships. You feel like you're part of it, and it creates more of a cohesive community in some way, team building. Getting gifted, in some ways, getting gifted a subscription is better than someone choosing to buy one. No, it's not really in some ways as well, but getting gifted a subscription might be better than a tippy in some way, because that person that receives the gifted subscription might come back to more streams, whereas when I get the tippy I just get the money. But having someone else join the group and making the community larger, that in the long term is what a streamer's trying to do, isn't it? Grow. So maybe it really helps growth, and maybe having the members thing helps growth in some way. It's like buying me a pint in the pub. Exactly. That's the way it should be. I don't want anyone to feel that they're like obliged to, you know, if you didn't pay me I couldn't stream. It's not that. And I hope that someday as we grow, and I need to put more effort into the mainstream content for this, actually. I need to do more on Super Chuff for this, but hope we can attract a sponsor. I mean, I find it hard to think at the moment that I could say, would you like to sponsor my streams? Here's what I've been doing about Angry Alan. Unless it's a very particular kind of sponsor. Whereas, would you like to sponsor my streams? Here's what I do on Super Chuffer. That seems like a more legit thing. And then if I can get a more permanent sponsor, like or some, you know, regular sponsorship, that takes some of the pressure off me. I don't ask for tips, but, you know, it gives me that, again, that more stable income. So I guess the same thing with memberships and sponsorship is like stable income, and tippies and having a good stream and a good week is, you know, like, and that's the difference between Alan. That's why he's always banging on about the patron. Like, Alan wants that regular money. He's worried about his day-to-day ability to, you know, elicit tips out of the audience, I guess. I'm just grateful for them. You know, I just see it as like I'm lucky to receive them, I guess. And I try and put in my end of the work to try and, you know, create a value proposition, but you know, I like to think that I do some work for it as well. But, you know, I'm not just sitting here on my arse going, oh, it's great, it's giving me money to drink fruit squash, yes. But yeah, it's like a interesting thing. Quite open to talk about it as well. If you ever ask me questions, like, don't mind talking about it. Like, yeah. I should do one on Colonel Russell Williams. I did see him on the crime channels the other day. I thought, oh, I recognise that. I remember him, but I can't remember what was going on. Alan's members are bought by Nancy to make it look like he's popular. That's a good point. That's a good point. I don't know. You see, I don't know where the membership number is displayed and how much of a status it infers or invokes. I think Nancy would do what Alan put out there he wanted her to do. And the thing that I worry about most with Nancy is that, like, if you're Alan and someone's giving you $100 every time, yeah, then you're going to go behind the scenes and you're going to say to them, hey, I don't notice you're giving me $100 all the time. Do you want to just give it straight in my PayPal where you don't have to give YouTube any of the cut? Like, just give me the... And while you're at it, if you're going to give me $100, like, say, once or twice a week, why don't you just give me sort of $500 at the end of the week, like every Friday? Should we say $500 every Friday? Like, I just think that's what Alan would do. I think he'd set it up like it was his, like, you know, and then I tell you what, he's probably done that. Nancy's probably on the payroll behind the scenes, you know, paying him regular. Like, you might as well set up a direct debit if you're going to be, you know, it's easier for you, isn't it? Then you don't have to keep typing. So he's probably done that, but then she's over and above giving, you know, she's probably giving extra on top. And it might be that, like, we think Nancy's like a poor woman, right? It might be that, like, her husband is a millionaire and, like, you know, she's got time and money to burn, and instead of going down the casino, she gives Alan £100 and watches a bit of true crime, and it's not that bad. Like, at her end, you don't know what her status is. Like, if she's got loads of money, like, she's really well off and living a nice life, and every now and then she gives a streamer a few hundred, like, maybe she's on other streams out there that you don't know about, like a cooking stream, and she gives this other woman who likes, you know, cooking cake, she gives her $100, and, you know, she gives $100 over there. Like, it's not that bad, is it? But if Nancy's struggling and giving a lot of, like, a great portion of her money towards Alan and, you know, having less herself, like, that's not so good. Like, there are balance, and for most of us, $100 on the regular would be quite a lot. So, yeah, Nancy has to be like, Nancy is his whale. We call them whales, like, on the internet, like, when people give a lot of money to a particular streamer. Like, here's a really interesting one. You know, Dark Side Phil. Most donations to streamers Graph or chart. Not last 7 days. All time. No thanks. No thanks. Is this... amount donated £50,000. Now these are people who got donated big wallops in one go, and these are like silly stories, yeah. Because Mr. Beast has given loads of people loads of money, but that's not what I'm looking for. There was an article a while back, and Asmongold covered it. Basically, I can just, you know, rather than wasting our time, I'll just tell you. Darkside Phil, there was an article about which streamers had the most donations, and Darkside Phil was on the list. He was like 7th on the list or something. And Darkside Phil, unlike all the other streamers on the list, was not a massively popular streamer. Like all the other streamers had like hundreds of thousands of viewers, and Darkside Phil's got like 200. And so what it meant was that he had managed to make it on one of these lists of top donations on Twitch by having like individuals spend fucking loads of money instead of lots of people spending a little bit of money. So those whales, like, for some streamers, like having a whale is like an like awesome thing, isn't it? Because then you've got loads of monies. But for others, like, and this is the way I view it, is it's probably better to have lots of people give a little bit, because then, okay, some people are going to come and go, some people like aren't going to tip and are going to tip and whatever. It's less of a struggle and a worry if Nancy disappears, like, isn't it? It's like Nancy goes, then I'm done. Like, what's happened? So, and to view your audience as the income stream is another mistake in itself, because the audience are there to help you get the numbers, to help you generate the vibe and like have fun themselves, and if they choose to support, that's great. But we're on a journey, you know, aren't we, with content creation to get somewhere. It's not about if I can get 10 people and 1 in 10 people will tip, then every 100 people I get 10 tips. No, it's not that. That's not how it works. So thinking of your audience like a resource like money doesn't work. Like, you think of them like the audience like people. Like, I think of you as people, and then we have a good time together, and then things grow and things work. But if I started to think of you as like a cash machine, then you would not have a good time, and then things would not work. It's weird, isn't it? Does the gambling site show him gambling in the last few weeks? That's an interesting question, and one that I don't know if I've got the brain power for right now, because I can't even remember what the name of the site was. Was it Shark something? And you're back. And you're back. Yeah, so what's happened is that All In Vin has opted out. Wasn't it Scarlet 9? Opted out. Opted out. It's a bit of a shit, isn't it? Since we did the video, he's obviously saw that we did the video, and he's opted out, as you can do. Which is cool. He didn't make a big fuss over it, did he? Like the other stuff. It's interesting, when you really hit the nail on the head with Alan, he doesn't make, like, you know, the day that we did the pedo video, Alan Vinnicombe is not a nonce. He didn't directly answer that immediately, did he? Or did he? I can't remember. Like, it was the next day, and after he thought about it. Mike Hunt. You know, that's too... Now if he makes another one, he's going to opt them out. Now he knows where this... He didn't know about this website before, I imagine. Shark Scope. He didn't know that you could opt out. Now he knows, like he's gone there and he's opted out. So in the future, he will also opt out. Maybe it was a mistake to reveal it to the public. I mean, Martin had already revealed it, hadn't he? So, but my guess is he's now just opted out. That's a bit of a shitter. Just means that we were on the money with it. I mean, the thing is, there was a pattern, so you don't have to be Sherlock Holmes to repeat the pattern, do you? This one makes me really interested. You know, the problem with this is, like, it's a civil thing, and there's no real way that I mean, I can't ring up the lawyers and say, oh, incidentally, this other case you're doing, could you tell me about the progress? Like, there's no way to get the info, is there? It just feels like case filed, awaiting a hearing. Now, when they set a date for the hearing, do they put that in here? I don't think they do they? It would just be after the hearing it gets posted. So when is the hearing? The only thing that comes up with that case file number that they put was this Caseboard. And that PDF. Like, only this website comes up with that case number. I mean, Caseboard seemed legit, didn't it? So public cases filed, public documents filed. We make legal data accessible. We bring together public court documents, hearings and judgments into a searchable litigation intelligence tool. It's free, unlimited searches, 15 cases, £30 a month. You get all this stuff. Like, it seems like a legit thing. Like, this isn't fake, is it? I'm not, like, accidentally clicking on Alan's fake website here by mistake, am I? As part of some sort of elaborate trap. Would it be weird? I mean, it's obviously not going to be the case, yeah? But wouldn't it be weird if... Oh, wait, look, it says court term, out of terms. Term starts 2nd of October. So maybe nothing's being heard at the moment and it starts again in 2nd of October. I don't know how these things work, but it says starts again 2nd of October, that does. Bit weird. It'd be funny if Alan had set up a really, you know, bizarre thing so that you sign up to this website and then, you know, because you're looking for information about Alan Vinnicombe and Ruszec, and so you sign up to this website and then he's got your details. That'd be funny, wouldn't it? But Caseboard did seem legit. It had a write-up in another blog. Seems legit. Got software and stuff. It seems legit, doesn't it, Caseboard? Or am I just seeing something else that's called Caseboard and it's just got the same name? Seems like a legit thing. A lot of work for some, yeah, but Alan might have someone else behind the scenes who's like, you know, harvesting emails or some shit, and they're like, send them to this website I've set up. I mean, it doesn't seem legit. Like, I mean, I'm reaching here, but I just wanted to be, you know, I'm on the internet. I found Caseboard. Caseboard's giving me the details, so I now need to check whether Caseboard is legit, don't I? Like, otherwise I'm just like believing whatever I see on a website. So, and because I couldn't search this KB number that they put in with it, that didn't come up anywhere. I was a bit surprised about that. And it says Ruszec Frankie, not the full name like it said on the other legal document that Alan had about Frankie. You know what I mean? It doesn't say his full legal name, Junior or whatever. It just says Ruszec Frankie. So, Vinnicombe Alan. Just going to look at one of the random other cases here. It's quite a lot. Matchroom boxing versus... Okay, yeah, I'll look at that. Boxer and Sky are going litigant in person as well. Maybe that doesn't just mean you're representing yourself. It's weird. Matchroom boxing represented by Taylor Wessing. Court list, part 7, breach of contract. Active. Case filed 1st of September 2023. Weird. There's a lot of litigants in persons. This is all the ones with Cohen Davis solicitors. Alan should be doing this, but all of them are media communication. Can pick the one off the top, August 8th, 2023. Cohen Davis representing these people. Defendant Media Platforms Inc. So where's Vinnicombe on this list? He's there. So because he's there and these are dated November 2022, December, January, February, March, April, right? These are dated and Alan's there on the list, yeah? Let me scroll back down and just go as far back as it goes for Cohen Davis to March 2016, yeah? This one just says case filed. July, case filed. Case filed. Case filed. Do any of these go to timeline hearings? Case filed. I mean, I'm supposed to believe that a lot of these get settled out of court then, do they? Case filed. Like, why are they not? Case filed. Like, do we know, maybe they don't report on the fact that they get heard or something? Like, why are these not going to hearings? These are the oldest ones. So at some point, you know, what I'd have thought is I'd have seen case filed, hearing, judgment, and then eventually the hearings and judgment would dry up and we'd say, okay, they're about there on the list in terms of getting through the process. But instead of that, these are all just case filed. When there's a lot of them and they're legit, you know, companies and people using this lawyer, if they're all real and legit and true, these actually happened. Hang on, let me pick one that I could find out about, because if they've been in the media, there's a lot of them against Google. Paisley versus Linehan. Is that Graham Linehan, like... Okay, hang on. Graham Linehan's like a Angry Alan in a way, isn't he? I'm being sued by another trans rights activist. £100,000 on his... They're looking for 150 grand, Graham Linehan is, for his own legal defence. 17 days to go. Trans person launches 100,000k GoFundMe to spite Graham Linehan. A transgender person has, I mean, I don't know what this news agency is, whether they're pro or against or anything, yeah, but I'm just reading it. A transgender person launched 100 grand for crowdfund to spite comedy writer Graham Linehan following the latter's similar plea to funds to aid in a court battle. Linehan's famous for writing legendary comedy shows. He's the subject of criticism because of his transgender. He is very anti-trans. Currently, the writer is being sued by actor David Paisley, who claims he was the subject of alleged libel and harassment from Linehan. Linehan has launched a crowdfunder to help him pay the legal costs. The writer wrote, "Of course, I'm going to fight this case, not because of the principle, but because to prevent him from doing so to anybody else. Currently, he's managed to raise over 44 grand. Well, now he's raised 100 grand. In response to this, the trans person launched their own crowdfunding aimed to annoy Graham Linehan. The campaign is titled "Help Me to Raise 100 grand to annoy Graham Linehan," and hello, I'm not Graham Linehan. So this is a different trans person. This is not David Paisley. This is a different trans person is raising money to give money to people to annoy Graham Linehan as a separate issue. Interesting then, yeah. So, this is in 2023 though, so this is more modern, isn't it? That's been... Oh look, this one's got a timeline. Oh no, they're all filings. A hearing. So this goes upwards. Okay, so this started in December 2021, case filed, and then there was a filing, claim form, and then particulars of the claim, and then the order for directions, then amending of a claim, then they had an application hearing, Then there was an order by the judge. Then they amended the claim. They amended the claim. They amended the claim. Then there was a filing by the defence, which is the defence. I don't know. The order by master was dated, and then there was a filing. I'm a bit confused about what this fucking is, but obviously the lawyers are working on the behalf of Paisley versus Linehan. So Cohen Davis are the ones who are filing the claim, and on this timeline, there's a lot of filings. Yeah, and actually, it was ordered by the judge. They had a hearing, application hearing on 30th of November. Hang on, let me just try and do this then. That's not it. I was thinking we might see some news about the actual court date to like confirm it happened. I mean, it'd be weird to like. I'm assuming this I'm still assuming this website is legit then, and these are actual reports, like not fake things. Because I found someone else in the public eye who had legal trouble, and here are reports, you know, that verify it. Like, are we agreed on that, or is this like an elaborate hoax on this website to just take information and put it on their website to make it look like they're doing something? This is legit, isn't it? This is actual details of actual stuff. Like, for example, Ferrero versus Business Telegraph and another, yeah? The claimant is Bethy Ferrero, and the defendant is the Financial Times and the Business Telegraph. What the fuck's going on here? Who is Bethy Ferrero, and how come she's suing the Financial Times? Well, not this dead woman from ages ago. Like, you'd think she'd be someone notable to be suing the newspaper. Or maybe she's not. Maybe they just got something wrong and they, like, you know, published it in the newspaper. Maybe she just, like, you know, got a lawyer to write them a letter to say, you've got this wrong in your newspaper. And then they decided to fucking change, you know, sorry to this woman, and we printed this thing wrong in our newspaper. There's been a company that got dissolved in 2007. I don't know. Like, it's a bit of a weird one. I'm just trying to pick out something else, like some reason why these ones have been filed, but there's no timeline. Like, my guess is that they've been either inferred case status, case concluded. It says on the left, case concluded. You can't see that bit because my screen, but inferred case status. The inferred case status is over on the left. Case concluded. So Alan's is not case concluded. So that's an old one, case concluded. The Linehan one is active. Right. That's still going on. That was December 2021. So Vinnicombe is quite high up on this list, meaning it's more recent that they filed it. So my guess is that the older ones get done first, don't they? But this one's case concluded. This one's case concluded. Where's Vinnicombe? This one. So just below it, this one's active. This one's active. Now, assuming the lawyer can't have that many cases on their books at one time, I don't know. This one's active. What's that, Ivy? This one's case concluded. This one, it was filed defamation, libel and slander, and the case is concluded. I mean, my guess is, to a lot of these, like the defendant is Google. Yeah? So, like, what can quite often happen is that Google don't give a fuck about, like, you know, Alan keeps saying, oh, on YouTube won't do anything, yeah? But if you fucking sue Google, then they'll just take down the video. When Cohen Davies, do you know what I mean? And that's probably why it's concluded. Like, whatever this is, this Ivy Business Centre Limited, I don't know why they wanted to sue Google. Maybe it's something to do with the Google search. Maybe they wanted a, you know, like a review taken down or something. Or maybe there was another website called Ivy Group and they wanted to win, you know, whatever reason, Google have probably just agreed with them and just done it, haven't they? Because there's a lawyer involved, instead of fighting Google versus these people for some business on the internet, is my guess. I don't know what's going on with these people, why they sued Google. You know, I'd like to call them and ask them, I guess. Because they just run a business centre. So, you know, it's nothing weird and creepy. It's just like something bad was on the internet under their name, or, you know, said something about them and they just wanted it removed, I guess. It's weird, isn't it, all this stuff? So, but theirs has been done anyway. So that was July 2022. Theirs got done. And we move up to Vinnicombe is November 2022. So July, August, September, October, November, 4 months. There's like the most recent one that's been concluded is there. And what about the most recent one that went to court? See, it's hard, isn't it? Because a lot of these cases are filed and there's no proceedings. We know that the other one happened, didn't we, with Graham Linehan? That's been going on, had proceedings. They've been amending things and doing things. So I'm finding no other real pertinent information here on this website that can give me a handle on how the timelines progress, other than the fact that some people's timelines get some amendments and most don't, and a lot of these are going against like Google or like Facebook. Look, this guy, someone versus Facebook, Shahara Begum Ralph. Is that because, okay, this is clear, isn't this clearly someone's got a name that's a bit like Shamama Begum, and didn't she go off to Iraq and fight for, like, she runs the Bengali Marriage Bureau, and she had to file a lawsuit against Facebook, probably because of something Facebook published or left on their website she wanted removed, do you know what I mean? And it might be because her name is very much like someone who was in ISIS. I don't know. Again, I'd have to look into, you know, we'd have to know more, wouldn't we? But she sued Facebook, and the case was concluded. What the fuck is Norwich Pharmacal order? Hang on. Court order for the disclosure of documents that's available in the United Kingdom. It's granted against a third party that's been innocently mixed up in the wrongdoings of disclosure of documents. So you can sue. This is interesting. I shouldn't be doing this because Alan can be like, but he hasn't got the money to do it. Like, she has sued Facebook to find out who has been saying these bad things about her. Probably to find out who's behind the profile. She's been getting trolled, and she's sued Facebook to say, I want to know who's behind this Facebook account. And they've probably just told her. You know, once the lawyer has written the proper letter to Facebook, they probably just told her, case concluded. Mink, please don't scratch that. Mink, that's not for you to scratch you. So what we've learned is that these cases are real, they exist, they happen, they're between real people. Usually they as Alan said, 90% don't make it to court because 90% are against huge big companies like Facebook or Google and are very quickly settled by just the thing happening. No, you're still doing it. Right. I've got you this. This is your scratchy. That's the sofa. No. Scratching it. Yeah. Scratchy this. Oosh. I don't know what the time scale is on it. Interested to see this one. The Paisley Linehan's got lots of filings. Application hearing. Okay, so the application hearing that I've seen in the past is you don't just say, I'm going to appeal this. You apply to appeal, and then the judge might say, no, I don't think you can appeal. We're going to go to court. Or then that's a good reason you can appeal that. Okay, we'll have a sidebar and we'll appeal that. Like so, and then the judge considered that and made an order. In this case, after the application to appeal, which in my opinion would be, no, you can't appeal it. You have to go to court. They keep filing amendments to the claim, which is interesting. Oh, I get what they filed a case. Yeah. And then they filed the particulars and all this business, the order of the judge. Then the amendments have happened because Graham Linehan has said something else. Graham Linehan has done something else. I want to add this to the case. I want to add this to the claim. I want to add this to the claim. That's what I think's happening there. It's really interesting. Good night. Yeah, I think I need to go nights in a minute. I need to get myself some food anyway. But it's been interesting. Like, it's nice to do these little streams that are a bit different, aren't they, in whatever way. We did some Genshin Impact, which I'm glad we did. We've had a look at Alan, and he's not worth watching tonight, really. Like, he really isn't. We were going to watch that video and react to it by Asmongold, and that wasn't worth it either. So that's the theme of the evening. But we did learn a little bit. Like, even though this isn't a proper big special website, this Caseboard website, I'll quickly file. I'll get this in the chat for you, though. I'll find it. And where is he? Well, you can Google it yourself, can't you? But I'll get it in the, for anyone who wants it. I'm going to get it in the chat. Ruszec versus Vinnicombe here. That's what I'm looking at. It's really interesting to see that, like, my questions, like Alan has thrown up all these questions. It's not a real case. They're not real. They'll throw it out. This and that. From what I can see, this solicitor is quite prolific in litigation. So I had some stuff to say about that, actually. Before I leave, I'm going to smoke one more little jiffer and have a little drinky and say my conclusions about all this. So let's do that. Yeah. Oosh. Yeah, there's a good point Seaman Staines about thinking it's a bluff. What I'm still unsure about, and I'd have to speak to solicitors to know more about this. I do know from my literal dealings with solicitors in the past, my literal dealings with them, is that at first you go and talk to them, explain what's going on. They will probably, for not very much money, give you a very brief overview of what they think the situation is and whether they can or cannot, whether you've got a case and whether and then they'll say what they offer you as the services. And every single time, in the main, most things will start with, we will send a letter to start, because in the main, litigation doesn't start with, I'm suing you for defamation, therefore we're going straight to court. Usually it's, I'm suing you for defamation, would you like to just back down? There's a bit of that involved, isn't there? So, Alan's had that bit. He's the one in the position of like calling their bluff. He's letting it go. He's saying, no, you're not. I think if he thinks they're bluffing, then he just says, yeah, take me to court then. Yeah, take me to court. He thinks they're bluffing. Yeah, take me to court. But at their end, right, there's the next step. I remember, because I was a hairdresser, and I had someone try and fuck me over for some hair work that they weren't entitled to. They said that I'd fucked up. Long story short, they said I'd fucked up the colour on their hair. I hadn't fucked up the colour on their hair. In fact, I told them if we did the hair process they wanted, it would fuck up the colour on their hair. So instead, I'm going to do semi-permanent hair colour, and it's going to fuck up the hair colour on your hair, but we can wash it straight off, and I've proved myself right. And they said, I don't think it will fuck up the colour of my hair. I want it done in permanent colour. I want this done in permanent colour. It's not going to fuck up my hair. And I said, it's definitely going to fuck up your hair. I'm not doing it. I'm doing it in semi-permanent colour. I did it in, they said, okay, I want you to do it in semi-permanent colour. And then, they agreed to the service. This is most important. They agreed to the service. It did go the funny colour that I predicted it would. After all of their pissing and moaning to absolutely, oh, it's going to work, make sure you do it. It went the funny colour. And then what happened, big ups Tricia. And then what happened is they went off and cried and come back and said, right, I've been to another hairdresser's and they fixed it. So now you're going to have to pay for it. And I was like, no, number one, I'm not paying for it. Under the Sale and Supply of Goods Act, if something went wrong, I've got an obligation to put it right. And my obligation is to put it right. So what I would do is wash your hair. The semi-permanent colour that I put on will come off at the end. And they were like, no. And so a couple of weeks went by and I got this big letter in the post from a lawyer. Ooh, you are owing this money. It's this money. They went to Tony and Guy, and Tony and Guy have done this, and you owe this money. And I'm like, what the fuck? And my boss, it wasn't my boss, I was a sole trader, but I was renting my chair off this guy. Like, he said, right, let's go to the solicitors right now. He knew all this, he knew what was going on. He was into all that shit. The solicitor just said, yeah, basically you're in the right. Would you like us to, bottom line, long story short, would you like us to send a letter? And I said, yes, I would actually, thank you. And they said, here's the cost for the letter. I paid the monies. They sent the letter. That was the end of that. The other people didn't want to do anything about it. The other people weren't really going to take me to court. They were faking it. They were trying to blag, weren't they? Because I was in the right and they were always in the wrong. It's a one-off that happened. I'm not always fucking up people's hair and having to send letters out. Not at all. It was a one-off that happened, but it taught me a lot. And I realised as well, like, what happens if that had not been the end of it? If I'd sent them the letter and they'd said, like, no, we want to sue you, then what would have happened? Then I would have had to go to the lawyer again and say, this is happening further. I want your representation as part of the case. My question is, do they say, right, this case will take about 6 weeks, 8 weeks. I'll be required in court. This is my price for the package. Or do they say, this case could take forever. I don't know. Give me a weekly retainer. Or do they say, this case will take forever. I don't know. I will work on your behalf whenever things come up and give you a random bill whenever they come up. And, it could be a big bill or a little bill depending on what's happening this week. And then eventually we'll go to court. And if you then continue to pay me, I will turn up at court. Like, my guess is it's probably a more complete package that they offer, but I don't know. Big ups in Tricia, what you're saying. You settled out of court, you won. And that takes lawyers because they have to deal with the settlement, don't they? Like, my question is, was it offered as like? I mean, my guess is that it's a process then that you pay for as you go on, but excuse me, because Alan's bluff that he's counting on is that they've paid the lawyers for one part of this part, but they haven't got the money to keep paying the lawyers to take him all the way to court. So I don't know if that's true or not. You were given no win, no fee. A lot of lawyers do that, don't they? Because it's basically like, I'm only taking the good cases that I'm guaranteed to win. But that's good for them, and it's good for you because you get that guarantee, don't you? Like a lot. Like I remember when I was working with that solicitor, like I said, I was worried that I was going to go in there and like for the hour that we were talking, I was going to get this big bill, and they weren't like that at all. They were just like, tell me what's going on. If you can win, and I'm going to win, then I will write you this letter. And like they didn't say, tell me what's going on. How do you want me to twist the truth? They said, okay, I'll get back to you on that. And when they got back to me, they were like, this is the law. This is why you're right. Would you like me to send a letter? It will cost this amount of money, And we'd have to find out more and be in the know more, wouldn't we? But my guess is that Frankie Ruszec, with that huge amount of money on the crowdfund, has basically said, give that money straight to the lawyers. The lawyers are going to use it. And the lawyers have said, thanks very much for that amount of money. We will take that as the entire bill. If this goes all the way to court, thanks for the money. It's gone all the way to court. If not, then actually, what am I saying? They might expect him to just like back down. So that big part of money. This is an interesting one. Wait. You're a little boy. Oosh. So my guess is that Frankie Ruszec Jr. has asked the lawyer to do a court thing, and it will start with a letter, a cease and desist, and that probably didn't cost loads and loads of money, so maybe he had that. And then when Alan decided not to cease and desist, he said to the lawyer, well, how much does it cost to go through the next step? And the lawyer said it's quite a lot of money. So they've done the crowdfund, and the lawyers looked at it and said, all right, I'll take that. And then they're going through the next step now. That's my guess. If they didn't think they had a case, they wouldn't be wasting time and money, yeah. And if they didn't think Alan had something for them to take, they wouldn't also be... Like, I'm not sure about this, but I'm pretty confident Alan has a house and he owns it, and that they may be able to find that out and understand and know and say, this is an asset and this is what we are after, The order to pay every month for years is an interesting one because they could dock his pension, with the HMRC. Maybe there's something in that. But other than that, like, he will not pay because he can just, like what he does at the moment, he's probably under some sort of order to pay at the moment of something, and he just says at the end of the month, I've got no money. Like, all that YouTube money came in, yeah, but I had to spend it on all this stuff, so my expenditure is the same, and therefore I've got none. So no taxes, no money, sole trader, working on like most people who start sole trader work up their way in business, start out doing that so that you've got more money in your pocket to do stuff with, but eventually you want to start getting a mortgage or security and stuff like that. You end up wanting your business to make money so that you can actually say we are making money, and that way, yes, you pay taxes, but also you are successful as a business, can get bigger loans against the bank and maybe get a mortgage and stuff. So Alan does the small time, short term grift of at the end of the month, I've got no money, so you can't get any out of me. Look, it all adds up. And that's with his poker, he'll be calling poker, so on his tax return, he'll be calling it something like software. He said the other day, didn't he, all the money went into software for his book. Software. It's a game on the computer. I literally can write off spending against games on my tax because I'm streaming and stuff. Like I bought a virtual reality headset, and that got written off on my tax at the end of the year. Not written off, like, you know, I had to spend it, but I didn't then have, like, my business needs to make a certain amount of money before I'm into the next tax bracket. And so rather than just have it all as profit and sit on it as money and then be in the next tax bracket, you buy things with it, don't you? And then you've got things, and they can help your business to go further forward, but you don't pay as much tax. That's the early days of the business. And then later on, you've spent the money on the things, now you're making money, but you do want to keep the money, and like I said, you do want to, you know, have the profit, so you have to pay a tax. And that's the way it works. So it's a bit, you know, it's a simple thing, but Alan thinks the principle is, at the end of the month, spend all the money and then blag on the tax that it was spent on. Like, if Alan told them what he's spending it on, he would be in trouble, because you have to spend it on legit things for your business. And there's a grey area if you're online. Like, I'm an online business media producer, so like a virtual reality headset can sit in the grey area, but I can't just go down Tesco and then to the pub and say that was all business lunch. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can't write everything off. Like getting a new chair as an example, I will put that on my business tax return at the end of the month. Like, I spent money on a chair, but at the end of the year, I can't put, like, if I wanted to buy a dining set for my lounge, I can't put that on. Like, so I think Alan's just going to put everything on his tax, like including the poker spend, and just be like, I make nothing, don't pay any tax. Great, isn't it? But not realising that pouring all your money down a black hole every month to make sure that you end up with net zero is not a good way to live. And he thinks that's going to get him safety from this, like you said, order to pay every month. What might happen is they'll say, look, we're going to set up an order to pay, so how much can you pay? And Alan will have to prove that he can't pay anything. He'll get his books out and he'll say, look, my books say I have nothing. And they'll say, okay. So we set the order to pay at like £10 a month then, and it's not really much, but you still have to pay it. It's still some sort of fine, just because you can't pay nothing. You know, you might have to find some small amount, maybe they do that. Or the other main thing is they'll look at your assets, and if you've got any assets, and Alan will have to, you know, he might not declare his house, but they will find it. And if it's small and nominal, then he'll just end up paying it, won't he? Like a little regular thing that he has to pay. It will irk him and it will anger him, but forever in his days, he'll have to be paying a small nominal fee. But if they prove he's got assets, like if he does own that house in his name and shit like that, then they'll just be like, right, I want 50 grand to sell the house. Usually in these cases, though, I've looked into this as well, small time cases like this, like, and it's reasonably big time because of the Ruszec, you know, connection with all that. You know, Netflix don't make documentaries on small time business, do they? But usually, you know, you're not talking anywhere upwards of 50 grand. Like, you're talking somewhere between 5 maximum. Like, most of these cases are small time numbers. It's more about the principle, and usually what happens is someone backs down and, you know, the principle, you know, is worked out. For libel anyway, and defamation, as far as I can see. Trisha's telling me they look into everything. You have to declare everything you have, and a judge can order you if you don't. Yeah, I agree with that. It's whether he, because like tax and tax evasion and that's still really serious. You know, that goes to the HMRC. So Alan cooking the books on that front, like, I'm not saying, like, I used to run a hairdressing business, yeah, and when I started I was a sole trader, and I was just me in a hairdressing chair and a mirror, and, like, you know, I tried to put everything I could through. I was getting a lot of cash in my hands, for example, so if I didn't declare that cash, then I'm in notice, aren't I? But then I would buy some stuff in cash and, like, try and declare as little as possible. Like I said, you know, colour, hairdressing colour, that's definitely a business expense, but maybe you know, that grey area like I was describing, you know, there's all that. I'm not saying I haven't been guilty, in inverted commas, of this, but at the same time, like, I'm handing this stuff into the HMRC, so I'm not going to try and pretend that I bought, like, I'm not going to say I bought a telly and then have it at home and it's not in the salon. Or, like, I mean, a good example of this would be I bought iPads for the salon, Like, they're in the salon. I still got to take one home every night and use it and mess about in it, but they are for the salon. Like, they were for the. Like, I didn't like just make up a load of shit. Do you know what I mean? Whereas with Alan, he's on the like. I bet he just sends in his HMRC every year. If he's sole trader and he does that, he'll send it in, and also with his he'll be on some sort of benefits. He would have had to try and claim them from when COVID times were on. So his pension is part of the HMRC. It's, you know, Universal Credit gets involved with some things, don't they? So I imagine at some point he's having to report this stuff, and he's just totally lying on all the. But that's really fucking serious in itself, and he just doesn't care because it's just a computer that he types it into, or someone else does it for him. Yeah, unless he has spies in here, we keep these chats here only, but he probably does have spies here. At the end, I'll switch it to members only, the stream, so only members can watch it at the end, but it's not good for my streaming career to switch things to members only, but we'll have it just so subscribers only can watch it. But yeah, so if he's got assets, they'll take them. They'll go through his old accounts, but his old accounts will still end up adding up to zero, and it'll be up to the court to say, like, the problem with this sort of stuff as well. I've seen a couple of other cases on YouTube, you know, on YouTube videos, where the claimants and the courts, like if you're talking about, I mean, DSP is a good example. DSP got through a proper audit by saying to the court, oh, it's digital spending. It's digital spending. Like, it was recorded. It was a legal proceeding he had to go through, and it was during COVID, and it was on the internet, so they recorded it on the internet. And they asked him about this spending. You know, what are you spending all this money on? Like, you've got $5,000 coming in every month, but your business expense is $5,000 as well. So where's this $5,000 going? And he showed them the expenses, and they were all like digital purchases and stuff. And like, he was like, yeah, I run a gaming channel. I have to buy a lot of games. Right? And so they were just like, okay. Like, the court will accept a simple explanation because they're not that interested in an understanding. So for Alan, a lot of his expenses will be on poker, and he'll say it's some sort of software for his business, and they'll just go, okay, probably, possibly, my guess. I mean, he's stitching himself up by doing that, of course, but at the end of it, the main thing will be, has he got a house? Because they'll, you know, the assets they'll probably definitely go for, I guess. But I really hope that he has to give all his bank details and PayPal, and it reveals some more problems. And I really hope that stuff ends up becoming public. Be interesting, won't it? Except we won't get to see a lot of it. I think these sort of things are done behind closed doors, aren't they? I wonder if, like, you know, from what I can understand here, this is real, yeah? So I wonder if there is a timeline on it, and like, we just don't know when the hearing is. You know, it feels like Alan's amping up towards it in a way, isn't he? Oh, the doggies. Don't start that, you silly doggies. That one's concluded. That one's not found. What? Concluded. TJM versus... Oh my god. Get this. This one's not found. 404 not found. The requested resource was not found on this server, yeah? And this one is TJM versus Chief Constable of West Yorkshire Police for defamation and slander in August 2021. And that one's not found. But the police don't want their information out there, do they? The police fell under chase level 1 in order... Fucking hell. This is Cohen Davis' website, look. It's taking me to Cohen Davis' own website. An email sent to the police to a suspect's employer was found to be defamatory because it implied that the suspect was guilty of a criminal offence. Sued the police. Won. Serving Royal Marine Officer. It's all here. The police obviously tried to hide it, and they were like, fuck you, we're printing it on our website, mate. That's cool. Signature cases. See, I don't like a website like this. I think this looks less than professional for me. But then maybe America's different. When it works, you can click the website and you can... And here's a list of things that they've recently had removed from the internet. So they specialise in removing things from the internet. Yeah. Take down negative articles, disclosure orders, all this stuff. Makes sense, doesn't it? So the other thing that's really interesting, right? One final thing that I want to... I don't know if it'll be final, who knows with me, but something that's really interesting about this is my guess as well. Remember that it said on Caseboard that the court was closed at the moment. I don't know how exactly it works, but you don't say, right, today we're doing Paisley versus Linehan. That's going to take all day. I hope we have our schedule clear for Paisley versus Linehan. It's going to take forever. That's not really what it's like, is it? A lot of these don't make it, and maybe a few, like, so this list is actually a lot shorter than it looks because a lot of them don't make it to court because, like, people just fucking do whatever and give up, and then this lawyer wins. Or the ones that do make it to court, I bet you see like 4 or 5 of them on the same day. Like, Your Honour, it's the case of Ruszec versus Vinnicombe, and the judge has already looked through all the stuff and what have you, and the judge goes, yes, you know, draw your attention to the court to Exhibit A, and the judge goes, yes, absolutely. Defence, have you got anything to say? And the defence says, well, Your Honour, I think this and I think that, and they go, thank you very much. Okay, judgment is Vinnicombe is in the wrong. Let's move on to the next case. Okay, case number, okay, have you got anything to say? Yeah, okay, I've looked over. Have you got anything to say in defence? Yeah, okay, the judgment is, you know, it might just go like that, mightn't it? Like, you know, it might not be. Like, Alan thinks it's going to be like, well, Your Honour, I was there on the night of the 14th when, as a young boy, I was a DJ, and like he thinks he's going to be parading around the courtroom and, like, you know, strutting like some southern, you know, well, I say, Your Honour. Well, I say, Your Honour, it was a hot night on the 14th, Your Honour, and my defendant over here, he's a fine young gentleman, Your Honour. And, like, none of this is going on. Like, it's just going to be a lot more, I want to use the word clinical, you know, like it's a lot less theatrical. Alan thinks in these theatrical terms, doesn't he? In these, like, little boy trapped in the body of an adult that thinking about the world as a fairy story. Like that game we were playing earlier, you know. It's not going to be like that. He's just going to be in like a normal looking room with some furniture, and then someone's going to say something pretty quickly that he doesn't understand, and before he knows it, he's going to have lost the case. And you can't just talk when you want. Yeah, absolutely. He's going to be stand there. There's going to be like a wooden thing in front of him with the judge, and then there's going to be some, and then they're going to say, in the case of this, and they'll read through some legal stuff that he doesn't really understand, and then, like, before he knows it, like, and if he tries to defend himself, he'll be given the opportunity to speak, and as he starts ranting, and they'll say, excuse me, you know, silence, stop ranting on. Is that what your defence is? Because it's not a defence. Can we just shut up with this now? And that'll be the end of that, won't it? I don't know who CD is, Jamie, but is that Crown Defence, or is, like, what I was going to say as well, right, is that this lawyer, the other thing I was going to say, this lawyer's probably, like, if you've got 10 cases that you're taking and you win loads of them, then you know the judge, you know the people, like, you know, this person's probably got some sort of reputation, haven't they, Cohen Davis? Like, probably a reasonably good one, not a horribly bad one. So they turn up, they run their cases. If they've got a horribly bad reputation, then, you know, they, number one, wouldn't be winning a lot of cases, and number two, the judge would, oh, I don't like you, oh, it's bad, it's that Cohen Davis again. But my guess is that it's going to be a lot more, like, less formalities, more sort of very quick and simple process. And because this lawyer specialises in this exact thing, most of these cases will be similar to the lawyer. And so they'll be like, oh, this again, yeah, win. Okay, this again, yeah, win. Yeah, this again, yeah, win. Like, it'll be a bit more like that. So when this does run through to court, I imagine that a bunch of these will be held on the same day, and Alan will just be one stack of paper in the other papers that gets ticked as a yes, win for the lawyer, win for the lawyer, win for the lawyer sort of thing. Because this lawyer isn't taking on, like you said about no win, no fee earlier, like they're not taking on shitloads of cases that, like, you know, you're going to lose. In the main, they're against big media people. They, like, the amount of cases they've had against Google, for example, or Twitter, or whatever. You know, there's quite a few, like there's one Google, there's another Google, there's another Google. So it's probably a formality between their departments, isn't it? At this point, rather than like some protracted legal battle that Alan thinks is going to go on. And that's really interesting as well. Yeah. So my prediction is that when court reopens, and probably not too soon after, because there's not loads of these. I imagine how many defamation cases get brought to the civil court, defamation and slander, libel and slander all the time. The High Court, it's the High Court. So the High Court is like, hang on. I don't want to do this. I just want to know where the nearest, like, what kind of courts, high courts are and where they are. Exeter Law Courts exists. So I'm guessing is that a high court? I suppose it depends who's sitting, doesn't it? Look, family court, crown court, yeah, because it's a courtroom, but you can have a different judge and a different court going on, can't you? But is the High Court like a special one? That I would think that in my area I've got like a smaller one, and then the main one, the big High Court, is up in Birmingham, like the Crown Court. So I don't know about that even. I'm like a bit ignorant of that. I guess it's going to be in Exeter for Alan. Crown and County Court. It's got to be that, you know, that's got to be it, hasn't it? So there'll be a date set, and they'll just like, they'll be in that building, and they'll be like, right, we're hearing all these cases on this fucking day, and like they'll be getting through them, and Alan will be one of them, bunch of them, won't he? Wheeled in, wheeled out. He'll try. Oh God, imagine having to deal with him on that day. It'll be a nightmare. And if we could find out when it was, we could turn up and be outside and like, how did it go, Alan? Could you give have you got a comment for the media? And they've got all this shit to deal with. This fucker done a murder. Look at this. Fuck me. What are these things at the bottom? What is that? Is that an advert? Have I clicked on an advert? That's eBay. I don't want to look at an eBay book. I thought that was part of the... Oh, no, it's taking me away from it. What's going on? Where's my search? What's going on? I was having fun then. Anyway, like, I was looking to see what their most recent court case was, and there was a murder. So, like, they obviously have business to contend with, don't they? Like, they can't just turn up and be like, right, we need to do this. But they book them in on a certain day and say, look, you're on this day unless somebody does a bad murder and we have to reschedule you. So when that court starts sitting again, they'll build up the cases and they'll all just go, won't they? I'm sure somewhere there'll be a list, won't there? And sing at him. You think I'll sing at him? Run over and cajole him. I won't be able to punch him on the nose, will I, in the street outside the court, but I'll definitely have a camera rolling and be like, hey, Alan. Do you want to tell us how it went? I'm out here outside the Crown Court with the famous Armchair Detective. Alan, how did it go today in court? Are you angry? He would be so eggy, wouldn't he? He would be furiously eggy. The best thing to do would be there in the morning before he goes in, because he can't stop and talk to you. He's got to go into the court. He can't mess about. So he'd know you were there on the way in, and he'd be like, oh, da-da, and it'd make him eggy, and then he'd have to go into the court. He'd probably arrive a little bit early just in case, wouldn't he? And then, or maybe he wouldn't, maybe he'd be having a paddy at home and he'd arrive late. But imagine that, yeah? Like, I'm outside with the camera, all jazzed up, ready to go. Oh, Alan, nice to see you. I'll be in the car park waiting for him. No, not the car park. They'll get eggy about that. What are you doing in the car park? I'll be like, I'm a journalist. Stand outside the court. And we can pester him on the way in. And then he'll get well eggy, but he can't do anything about it because there's police and it's outside the court. And then he'll go in and he'll be eggy when he goes in. And then he'll be well eggy all the way through it. And he'll be even more eggy when he gets out. And he'll know that we're going to be there waiting. And he'll fucking explode. And then I can throw an egg on him. I'll only, if he explodes and touches me, or if he touches the camera, he's in trouble. But otherwise, I'll just be there to make him eggy. Probably order myself a succulent Chinese meal to consume in celebration. Yeah, let's have champagne. We'll have champagne. Well, I don't drink, so. But, some sort of equivalent champagne. Well, hey, when he comes out and he'll be like, oh, I'm eggy. And I'll be like, I know, that's the whole point of the champagne. Hey. How am I going to get on down there? How am I going to know when it happens? How am I going to know? Oh no, how am I going to know? How will you know if he really love you? How will you know? Do, 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 do. How will you know? Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. How will I know? Do, 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 do. How will I know? Do, 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 do. How will I know? Do, do. There we are. I'm back here now. Good. Okay. I don't want to watch a short ad. Thanks. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Right. These are the people that are up in court. 2023, 7th of the 5th. What is it now? It's the 6th of the 9th. 2023, 8:30. 30th of the 8th. That was the last one. That was the murder. And then there was the 21st of the 8th. 11th of the 8th. So these are the ones that have gone through the court recently. It's not showing me anything. Log in or register. No. I just saw one a minute ago. You showed me one. Log in or register. Oh. I just wanted to know if they were all murders or if they were some of them might not have been murders. Some of them could be some other stuff. When's the court open and what's happening? You think Alan would take a pop at me? You think he'd have the bravery to throw fists in the street against me, Scotty Hottie? One time British fencing schools fencing captain. One time winner of the Annecy under 15 sabre fencing competition. International. He'd have the Sun newspaper from W.H. Smith covering his face. If he'd do that, wouldn't he? He'd cover himself up, he would. I think he'd cover up and run. Cover and run. That fucking super chuffer's out there. I can't go out there. He'd get the police on it. That man's dangerous. I think he'd make a scene. But I don't think he'd touch me. I think he'd be too nervous to do that. Because the minute he touches me, it's on, isn't it? Like, you know, all bets are off then. He touched me first. I've got it on video. I'm sorry that his head hit the concrete with that sort of force, but it's not my fault he's in a coma. He touched me first. He may never recover. He did touch me first. I've got it on video. I think I'll be alright with that. I'm not some big hard chuffer, but I could take Alan. Or maybe do you think, I'll get this will be a weird one. Do you think he'd have his friends and family with him? Like, all for support? You know, do you think there'd be like a statement afterwards? With them all, you know, they all stand there with them and then they read a statement. Curtis Media can go, yeah, we'd all go, we can all turn up. If we knew where it was, we could have a fucking fat party. I would literally, if you could tell me guaranteed when this was, I would hire a venue out nearby, like a pub with a car park and you don't need a car park. Why do I keep saying car park? I meant for a party, not for a fight. I meant for a party, not a fight. I'd hire a pub and just be like, listen, everyone come down. I've paid for everyone to have the first 2 drinks on me. There's an open bar for your first 2 drinks. We're having entertainment and sandwiches. There's a travel lodge up the road. I can't pay for everyone's hotel, but the event is free. No tickets, no monies. Here's one back for everyone. It's a celebration of Alan's court case. And we'll invite him and he can come down and come on the stage and we can all clap if he wins. We'll go, oh, I'm sorry if he loses. I could take Scarlett to dinner. Scarlett can, yeah. We can have children, me and Scarlett, and then if one of them looks like Alan, I'll have to raise, and I'll do it right. I'll raise him to not be a total dickhead, and then that'll be better. And then I'll have the satisfaction of raising Alan. I'll call him Alan. I'll call him Alan Jr. Little Alan Jr. And I'll tell him his granddad is a nonce, so that's why he can't talk to him. I don't think the kids would go to court with him, no, but in some ways I think if my parents asked me for support and I did think what they were doing was stupid, I might still just consider supporting them. I don't know if it's on, I don't know if he's got the balls to ask for this. I mean, I think he'd be scared, so I think he'd want, like, maybe he'd get Luke there as some sort of bodyguard. You know, someone might have to drive him. Do you know what I mean? Like, Alan's going to make a big thing of it. And he's going to, like, you know, the night before and the day before and the day of, he's going to have a paddy. His good shoes aren't ready, and where's my fucking tie? And I said I should have this shirt ironed, and you haven't ironed it. And, you know, he's going to have his fucking massive paddy. He's not just going to get up in the morning and say, it's this lovely morning, I'm ready for court now, let's go. He's going to have a fucking nightmare of a paddy. Isn't he? On his court day. Oh, I wouldn't want to be around him on the court day. Suddenly unwell. Do you think? Can't turn up because of health reasons. He's just had his knee fixed. Alan's got 2 problems. Like, I see what you're saying with this as well, because the coward would he'd just not go. You know, they can say what they want in court. I'm going to lodge an appeal, sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? And just not turn up and think that he can, like, bury his head in the sand, not turn up, pretend that he's going to do something until the very end, where he gets, like, given a piece of paper that says we're taking your house, or pay us whatever every week. Like, he might just do a no-show, and he might do that with loads of excuses, or he might do it without excuses. Like, he might definitely do that. But then part of me thinks the narcissist is having a court date where they're all talking about him, and part of me thinks the delusional part really believes that he can turn up there with, like, a pad of things he's printed out off Facebook, and be like, well, Your Honour, you thought you were going to say this, but look at what I've got to show the court. And like he actually believes that in some way he'll be given space and time to do his rant. That would be laughable if that were the case. But I think he would like picture himself like, you know, these celebrities are in and out of court and they've got the sunglasses and the thing and they've got the case files. You know what I mean? Like he'd picture himself in that way, like, oh, you know, I don't mind they photographed me going in court because I look really cool with my case files. And my, you know, I'm in the big league now, litigation. So part of me thinks that he'd like to turn up and be part of the pantomime, part of the circus that he perceives it will be. And then he'll be disappointed with the sort of banality of it, the daily triviality of it, the fact that they don't all dress up like fancy in the court, like they just got this small wig on, and like it's not all like, you know, wooden old, like it's not like the Houses of Parliament, it's just like a fucking office room, like, do you know what I mean? He's going to be well cross with that. You think he's going to put on a horse show? It'd be awesome to watch, wouldn't it? Not even Frankie gets to watch that, because I imagine the lawyers will just work on his behalf, won't they? I imagine the case is already solved anyway. In terms of, like, the judge would probably review at some point. The judge has access to all the evidence, don't they? And like they'd probably just give it a quick look over and just be like, "It's another one of these. Tick the box." Like with these legal things, they're not asking about what Martin said, you said last week, or any of that. What they're interested in is, does it fit this narrow, like they've got the black and white view of it. They understand the law really carefully, and they just say to them, this is a contravening of that law. Look, he said this exact thing. And they say, that exact thing, over the line, goal. Do you know what I mean? I think it's really simple like that. I never got a fair hearing, yeah. I mean, the interesting thing is, I think as well, right, let's assume that it happens, and let's assume that it must happen in the next, like, they can't leave this for years and years and years on the list, can they? Like, that's not how this shit works. They can't just leave it for years. But I imagine a bit like Steve's back operation, like, it's on a short list, but doesn't get seen overnight because all this other stuff, like murders go ahead. There's probably some backlog. It's probably not like the priority, but it will be seen. Let's hope it gets seen relatively soon. And then after that, what will happen is that Alan will be in this weird position, like I said, where he doesn't understand how to make content. He doesn't understand the law, so he's not allowed to do it again. But will he? Will he know what he's doing? And will he accidentally do it again? And where will it go? Like, it could become court orders. It could become criminal. I hope it does. The bill keep going up. That's a good point. Or the court order to pay the court stuff's one thing, but having to pay the legal costs of the other side is a different one. And I'm not certain about how that works. But if he were landed with that, that would be fucking funny as fuck, because they've already been paid by the crowdfund. So then he'll be well on his egg, because he'll be like, I'm paying the money that the crowdfund was supposed to pay. That'd be funny as fuck. That's another point. Like, if you win and the other person has to pay the legal fees, does the lawyer charge you beforehand, or do they wait till the end and then say, look, you lost, now you have to pay? Because if you win, maybe you don't have to pay, or maybe you get the money paid back. It's a bit of drama, isn't it? It's a bit of interesting intrigue, and sadly we're never going to find out the facts, because what we're probably going to get is some legal publication of, like, you know, straight out and out legal publication, and then we'll get Alan saying, oh, this happened and this happened and that happened. He did such bad content today. Such bad content.